Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, it's the seed. Today we're unpacking a story. Well, it feels shockingly relevant, even though it's thousands of years old. Imagine, just imagine the audacity of this, building a massive monument right on the border of your rival's territory. Like, come on, right? That's what we're diving into today. A story from the Bible, chapters 22 through 24 of the book of Joshua, to be exact. And before you think, oh no, not another religious lecture, I promise we're approaching this from a purely human perspective. Think of it like untangling a really juicy historical drama. We've got accusations, near war breaking out, all because of an altar. To help us navigate this ancient land of betrayal, monumental grudges, and maybe even a little bit of reconciliation, I've got our expert here.
It's fascinating, isn't it? This whole story unfolds at a pivotal moment for the ancient Israelites. They're on the verge of becoming two separate nations, and this physical act of building an altar becomes like a flashpoint, deeply symbolic, potentially divisive.
Okay, so let's set the stage. We're dealing with these tribes, Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh, who,
hmm
according to the book of Joshua, helped conquer a land. But instead of sticking around with everyone else, they decide to set up camp on the other side of the Jordan River. I mean, why go through all that trouble and then choose to be across the river, folks? What does that tell us about them?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And to understand their decision, we need to remember the significance of land in this context. Joshua, in the early verses of chapter 22, reminds us that Moses had promised them this land, and they were totally within their rights to settle there. But for the ancient Israelites, land wasn't just about property lines. It was about their covenant with God, their heritage, their very identity.
So even though they were technically given the land, choosing to live on the other side already set them apart, right?
Absolutely. And this geographic separation created this underlying tension. It's like those keep state name weird bumper stickers, right? They love their state, but also want to stand out. These tribes were in a similar predicament. Were they fully committed to the emerging nation of Israel, or were their loyalties divided? This question, this outsider status, is crucial to understanding why the altar caused such a meltdown.
Yeah, and talk about a meltdown. This wasn't just like a campfire, right?
Yeah.
Joshua 22.1012 describes it as an altar large in appearance.
Mm.
It's like a massive, a statement piece, like building a giant billboard right on the highway.
And you can't underestimate that visual impact.
Yeah.
For a community that had just escaped centuries of slavery in Egypt, forging this new national identity, visual symbols were everything. And at the heart of that identity was their unique relationship with Yahweh, their God.
So this isn't just a monument, it's a declaration, a potential threat in the eyes of the other tribes. Things are about to escalate quickly. This wasn't just some minor disagreement.
Exactly. You get the sense from the text that this wasn't a misunderstanding, but a deliberate act designed to send a message. And the other Israelites, oh, they got the message loud and clear, assembling for war, as if to say, we're about to refresh their memory about who they are.
Wow. You can practically hear the war drums beating, but what kind of message, what fear would drive people to such extremes? Okay, so we've got these two factions on the brink of war, right? And at the heart of it all, this altar, a symbol of unity, but also this potential sign of division. It's not really about the rocks and offerings, is it? It's about what the altar represents, belonging, memory, the fear of being forgotten by future generations.
Yeah. You see this fear play out in the accusations hurled at the Transjordan tribes, like they're sometimes called. In Joshua 22.1620, they're hit with some serious allegations. Unfaithful act, rebellion, turning away from the Lord. They even bring up, like, past sins, like that whole golden calf incident
Yeah.
and Achan's disobedience.
Oh, wow. So they're really laying down the law. Like, have you learned nothing from our shared history? We're about to make the same mistakes again.
Exactly. This isn't just about a physical structure, right? It's about the soul of this new nation. The memory of their collective trauma, slavery in Egypt, it's still so fresh. And the last thing they want is another reason to fracture.
Okay, so the pressure is definitely on. You can, almost feel the tension as these tribes are backed into a corner, forced to defend themselves. But this is where the story takes a turn. They don't back down, in fact. Their explanation is not what you'd expect at all.
Right. Instead of shrinking back, they defend their actions passionately. Look at verses 21 through 29. They cry out, "The mighty one God, he no dal, yes." It's bold, appealing to, like, divine knowledge as proof of their innocence. It's not rebellion for them. It's survival.
Hold on to what, though? What exactly is fueling this elaborate altar construction?
They lay it out. They're terrified of their descendants being cut off, forgotten, told they have no portion in the Lord, just because they live on the other side of the river. It's very human, right? This need to belong, to be remembered, not to fade into obscurity.
So it's like they're saying, look, we fought alongside you. We're part of this story. Don't let our children forget that. Huh.
They understood that without a physical reminder, their connection to the rest of Israel, their shared history, it could just disappear. That's powerful. Even within a unified nation or community, the fear of being forgotten, of becoming the other, it can be a powerful motivator.
Absolutely. And this fear wasn't unfounded. Think about how many groups throughout history have been marginalized or forgotten. Because of geographic, cultural, or religious differences, these tribes knew that risk. And this altar, it was a way to mitigate that risk.
It's like a classic standoff. Two sides, deeply held beliefs, a whole lot of tension. So what happens next? Does it escalate into full-blown war? Well, get ready for another plot twist. Because the answer is a resounding no. All right, so we're back at this standoff. You've got these tribes, armies assembled, ready to go to war. Over an altar, it's like the mother of all family feuds. You'd think it'd be all downhill from here.
Right. You'd think so, but that's the beauty of this story. It takes this unexpected turn. Instead of bloodshed, we get understanding, forgiveness, maybe even a little awkward group hug. Who knows?
Hold on. Seriously, they just talk it out.
They do. It's remarkable. The other tribes, they listen to their explanation. And Joshua 22.3034 tells us it pleased them. Can you imagine that? They choose to believe the best, to see this grand gesture, not as a threat, but as a desperate plea for belonging.
I mean, wow. Talk about taking the high road. In a world where we're so quick to jump to conclusions, right? Assume the worst. This feels almost radical, It reminds me that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is just listen.
Absolutely. This story, it might be ancient, but it speaks volumes, about the power of dialogue and empathy. By choosing to understand each other, by acknowledging those fears, they avoid a war and reaffirm that shared identity.
Yeah. Makes you think about how we approach disagreements today.
Right.
It's so easy to dig in, on being right. But this story, this ancient act of choosing understanding over aggression, it's inspiring.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it highlights something else, too, how complex identity is. You can be part of this larger group, but still honor your own experiences, your own fears. It's not about erasing those differences, but bridging them.
So it's like they accidentally found the blueprint, right, for navigating difference, like a reminder that sometimes what we build, it isn't about defiance, but a need to connect. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm thinking about those altars in our own lives, the things that could be misunderstood.
It is. That's the question, isn't it? What are those misunderstandings in our own lives? And how can we be more like these tribes, choosing dialogue over division?
That's a great question and a great note to end on. That's all the time we have for today, but thank you for joining us for another deep dive. As always, we appreciate you coming along with us as we explore the human story. Until next time.
Welcome to Charlie and Mia's podcast. We're embarking on an exciting journey to read through the entire Bible in just 1 year. Every day, we dive into Scripture, exploring its meanings and how it applies to our lives today. We invite you to join us on this incredible adventure of learning and discovery. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode.